Hey there everybody, it's Nathan Cool with nathancoolphoto.com, and in this video I want to present the 2019 report for real estate photography, which this year is geared toward not just real estate photographers but also real estate agents as well, as the data that I was able to pull actually applies to both sides of the aisle, so both to us real estate photographers and also to realtors who would be hiring us. Now what I've been able to do, similar to last year's report, I was able to get about 300 photographers polled this year, about twice as much as what we were last year, so about 300 photographers that were polled, and a series of different questions. Very simple questions just to start garnering some of the information. But I'm going to preface that though with some other data this year from the National Association of Realtors. Now I've got links in the description for this video to my sources for that, also some other useful information that might pertain to real estate photography, including my book series and other things as well. But what I'd like to do then is, after prefacing everything with the data showing how buyers are using different marketing aspects of looking for real estate photography and selling real estate photography, how that then associates with what we were able to poll this year from about 300 real estate photographers, how that also in some ways differs from last year to start showing some trends, and then I want to finish up this video with talking about what we can do to start leveraging some of that information from both sides of the aisle once again, for not just real estate photographers, but realtors as well. So let's dive right into it and start taking a look at some of this data. An important aspect that we have to consider that came out of the report from the National Association of Realtors this year was that there was 9 out of 10 buyers under the age of 63 that felt that photography was the #1 website feature. So they felt that the most important website feature was photos. 9 out of 10 people felt that was the most important thing that they found during their search. We could take a look at this when we start looking at the different data that came out of this report. No matter what the age group of the various buyers were, the #1 thing was when they were taking their steps to looking for home buying process, the first step was they looked online for properties for sale. Now many years ago the only way to do it was to contact a real estate agent, but nowadays it's almost online. That's the first step for anybody looking to buy. Now selling was different, but it was also similar in that the sellers were looking for somebody as a real estate agent who could help them market it. But once again, knowing that those then markets overlap, it puts the importance on photography. Looking online. That jives with other stuff. So what was the first information source? The most popular information source in the home search was an online website. Real estate agent came in next on that, but a lot of that also is that the real estate agent can serve as someone to go through the process, because there's a lot of legalities, there's negotiations, stuff like that, where the real estate agent really does shine. And this then reflects on some of the things when we start getting fears of Zillow, Purple Bricks, stuff like that, that would this be supplanting realtors? Would this change the real estate photography market? Probably not very much, if at all. Once again, the online website was very important, but real estate agents came in at a close second to be used during just the home buying search, let alone listing a home for sale. But once again, it was the use of internet that was so popular. Now, all buyers, it was almost 100% that they found the use of internet was good for their home search. Even when we get to the elderly, up here 73 to 93 years old, we can see that even half of them felt that the internet was one of their most useful tools for buying a home, or searching for a home. Now, this is where the rubber starts meeting the road. I'm going to start transitioning then into the survey results for the 2019 report here. But what was the most important value of website features, no matter what the age group, across the board? It was photos. So, and we know that the quality of photos does matter. I have an earlier statistic, a report here on my YouTube channel called Do Real Estate Photos Matter? And that once again shows that the higher the quality of the photo, the better. But nevertheless, no matter what it is, photos are the most important. When we get down to the 4th place here, we're looking at virtual tours. I'm going to cover some of that when we get into our statistics and how that's changing. But besides photos, it was then the information about the property that they felt most important. So when we get down past floor plans and virtual tours, that's when it's like, well, does that really even matter? So let's take a look now at the actual survey results. So polling these about 300 real estate photographers, this was very similar to last year, almost identical, in that the majority of real estate photographers have been shooting only 1 to 5 years. Now, that may look like it's just a problem with attrition, which some of that is, and some of the things I talk about in my business techniques book is one of the things we leverage is the attrition, because people will fall out. But consider that that's only about half. So there are some people in a low percentage that were below that, below 1 year, but there's still a lot of real estate photographers, probably about a third, that were doing this more than 5 years. So it does have longevity, and that probably, I can see that changing as time goes forward. I'll show you why in some of these other results. So how many shoots do you do a year? This also is very similar to last year in that a lot of people, the majority was less than 100. But look closely at that percentage. It's less than 40%. That means that more than 60% of all real estate photographers are doing well over 100 shoots a year. In fact, we see that there's quite a bit between the 200 range, and there's also some that are doing over 400 a year. And if that may seem like an exaggeration, it's really not. When you think about it, if you only did 2 shoots a day and you worked 5 days a week, that's 40 shoots a month. If you work in a 10-month cycle for real estate photography, there's your 400 shoots right there. So just by doing a couple shoots a day during your 5 days a week during the peak season, that's not that difficult. Obviously, there are some territories that really drop off in real estate photography because of inclement weather and stuff. And I realize I'm in Southern California and we get a lot more real estate photography. I even keep busy during December, but this is encouraging. But once again, that's not that much different from the results from last year. So are you just self-employed? Is it just you, or are you in a team? Now, one of the things that's happened is, and one of the things that always seems to be a threat to real estate photographers, are what I call these photo mills. So it's these companies that will just hire junior photographers to go out there and they'll advertise this fantastic portfolio, but it's just taken by a few photographers, and the rest of them are just whoever comes out there with whatever low-grade camera. I've even consulted for some of these companies to help them with their business growth, and they never liked the answers that I gave them. But anyways, this goes to show that realtors also know this too. They might try them, they get the results, but then they also talk about no team, just me. It's just getting that what some people call boutique photographer, but just an individual photographer working alone and doing most of the gigs. It's impressive. It's almost 90%, 85.6%. So this was a question that really didn't change that much from last year. I'll move on to this very quick. A lot of people think it's like, I want to get into real estate photography. Can I just buy a cheap crop sensor camera? Sure, you can get by with it. But one of the reasons why you'll see a lot of these full frame cameras being used, and that's where we've got this majority of photographers, real estate photographers using full frame, it's the totality of the work that you do. If you're doing real estate photography and you're doing 100, 200 shoots a year, you're probably also doing other work. You might be doing corporate headshots, you might be doing product photography, weddings, a lot of other genres that fill that in for a full-time photographer. To do a lot of these other genres, you'll want to have the gear that lasts, that can do a lot of other stuff. So it's that versatility. So it really is the totality of what really is required for that. Now, this was something that did change, and it was regarding drones. So what's becoming more popular, we start seeing a rise of the drone, so to speak, when we compare this to last year. So you can see here in blue the 2019 results, red is the 2018 results, and you can see that the certified drone pilots are on the rise. We're over 50% of those polled are certified and using their drones. Still have a fair amount of drone pilots that are not certified. We have some in our area out here too. I don't recommend that at all. But look at the difference here from those that don't do aerials at all. So there was over 30%. About 35% last year that didn't do aerials of any type, and that has significantly dropped. Also, what's dropped is the use of the elevated tripod or the pole. So that has lost popularity, where people are more and more getting into drones. But also another thing that's starting to become popular is the outsourcing of aerial work. And as you know from my other videos and books, that's what I do. I work with Jonathan the Drone Guy, and I outsource my aerial work with him. So we work together as a team on that, and I see that that is starting to gain some popularity. So this was almost no different from last year. How many images do you typically deliver for most of your shoots? There's that sweet spot. It's always about 35 photos. And one of the reasons for this, there's a couple things. One, it's the amount of time that it takes to do all this, but is it really worth it? So there's that problem of the information bias, where if you have too much information out there, then people might think that they have enough information to make a decision. There's also something known as the paradox of choice. If you give somebody too many choices, the paradox is that they might not make any choice at all. So you don't want to overload anybody with too much information. And when it comes to the photo part of the marketing decision here, more isn't necessarily better. There's that sweet spot to let's show enough of the property for someone to pick up the phone and give the real estate agent a call. This is something also that didn't change from last year, and I know I love doing Twilights. I don't like staying out late in the summertime to do it, and they might be really cool photos, but they're losing their popularity. I mean, most people are doing less than 10%. I can attest, this is even mine. I did so few in 2019 for our area out here. Now, some of it is because some realtors are taking those photos and doing those day to dusk type of conversions, paying editing companies to do that. Some will pay me to do it, but overall, those aren't really the most popular, especially since we go back and we can see that drones were on the rise as one of the marketing tools that are coming out versus a Twilight shoot. And there's other things too that are very important as well. So when we get to the other things as add-ons, and we start getting into these tours, I'm going to do a comparison on this in just a second, but this is also similar to last year. Matterport is dying on the vine. Real estate agents that I talk to, all of them are discouraging it. They don't want to do it. Photographers that I know, they're stuck with these huge cameras that they've paid all kinds of money for. The service isn't what it used to be. Also, the Zillow doesn't have that partnership with Matterport anymore. They're doing their own thing. I'll get to that in a second. So this is something that just is not even worth it. I wouldn't even consider it according to these statistics, and also just anecdotally from what I know in the field. So something that's starting to gain some popularity though are the 360 tours. Now, this is something that Zillow is starting to offer, but that's different. There's also services out there nowadays that are allowing you to then host your 360 panos, so you don't even need to do the video. You just pop some panos in there and you host it. It doesn't take long to shoot it on site, and those are starting to become more popular, but still there's only about maybe 30% of those that were polled are doing them. So still a lot of them aren't doing the 360 tours yet, but it is something new that's starting to come out. I'll show you a comparison in just a second after doing this, because this is something that changed a lot from last year, in that tour buzz is starting to lose popularity. When we compare that to 2018, you can see how much. When we take a look at how many shoots, when it comes to the none category for tour buzz or other slideshow tours, it's huge. It's on the rise. So this is something else that seems to be dying on the vine, is that these slideshow tours are just going away. There's too much other technology out there, and when people are really looking online to really get the information that they need, they don't want to just see the pictures over again with music in the background. That doesn't help their buying decision. So this whole service of tour buzz and just those standard tours, those are going away, but tours in themselves are not going away, and that's where they become important. So one of the popular tours that still is today is the walkthrough videos. Now, this may not look like it, but when you consider that the never category for how often the photographers are doing walkthrough videos, it's less than 50%. So that means that more than 50% are at least doing some. There's the large portion that are rarely and sometimes, but there's still a good portion that are usually and always. So when we compare all those different tours and the popularity of them, we can see Matterport's lowest on the totem pole here. 360, in fact, is starting to gain ground over Matterport. Tour buzz, it's still more popular than 360, but I can imagine that over this year in 2020 that we're going to see that completely drop, with 360 starting to take off. Walkthrough video continues to be king. This is something that people really relate to. It's a lot more realistic than a 360 tour, which is just like walking around in a virtual reality fisheye lens. It's not the same thing. So walkthrough videos are very popular. Also, I know from the work that I do with Jonathan the Drone Guy that we have drone footage that's flying around the house, around through the property, and then some other stuff that we do inside, that's also very popular. So that is still the king right now for tours, and I predict that 360 will then start gaining ground on top of that. Last question I asked then, are you a Zillow certified photographer? And this was trying to gain some insight into how many people might be going towards Zillow because of their 360 tours that they're offering. They're calling it now 3D Home, but that's changing quite a bit. It's time to talk about that a little bit more and kind of how things are starting to move forward. So there has been some fear in the industry that Zillow would really change things up, and not necessarily for the better, when it came to the real estate photography and real estate industry in general. We can see that that's not really the case so much. A lot of things keep changing with Zillow, and one thing that any agent wants is somewhat consistency. You really want that from just about any type of vendor that you're using. So real estate agents I'm talking to that are paying thousands of dollars every month to try to get lead generation and stuff, to watch Zillow keep changing the game on that is very frustrating for them. So Matterport, for instance, they've obviously got some sour grapes because of what happened on Zillow dropping that through that Matterport button. Zillow also not really doing the walkthrough video. They're doing now 3D Home, which isn't going to be to the same quality what you can provide on your own by doing some other 360 services. So Zillow itself isn't really going to be a game changer. All these things that people were looking at for Purple Bricks and Redfin, and are they going to be taking over the industry? It looks like there's still a solid plant, that's solid footing, I should say, for real estate agents, and those are going to be the primary clients once again moving forward through 2020 and for many, many years to come. Just some of the statistics are proving that, even from the National Association of Realtors and from what we're seeing now. Now, there are services that are changing, but the most important thing is that it's the quality of photos. Photos are the #1 thing that people were looking for when they were searching for a home, because it's all done online, and there is that buyer's perception. If they see poor quality photos, they might think it's a poor quality house. Also, since sellers want to use a real estate agent to help them market their home, it's very important for them to hire an agent that knows how to market something. That means not using a cell phone to take pictures of their home, but know how to really leverage what they have. Professional photography comes into that. Along with that then are the add-ons. Twilights, are they useful? Not according to the statistics and what we're finding. Instead, drones are on the rise. That's really big. Also, the 360 tours are starting to take off. The slideshow tours like Tour Buzz, they're starting to tank also. That's not really where it is. But I've got some stuff coming forward in 2020 to help out more with some of the 360 tours, some of the drone stuff, and a few other things that might be changing throughout the market. So a lot of that's still to come throughout the next year, some more videos on that. Anyways, I hope this video was useful for you and that you can use some of this in your business as well. If you did like this video, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It won't cost anything, and as soon as one of these videos is posted, you'll be the first to know. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, take care, be safe, and get out there and shoot something.